Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This video will talk about top things I wish I knew when I started cycling. It seems a pretty easy thing. The reality is that while most of you grew up riding bikes around your home, very few have been doing competitive cycling in their teens. So how can you start cycling without making mistakes? Now before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Now thing number one, the bike. Get started with a cheap bike. Don't start buying an expensive bike. Starting with a cheap bike will help you understand what cycling is about, whether it is a sport for you, and really what type of bike is more suitable for you later on. Once you're finally willing and able to get a new bike, do not get a bike just because it's cool or beautiful, or especially because famous pros are riding that bike. Just get a bicycle that is gonna suit your riding style, your riding preference. It is gonna match the terrain and the type of ride that you're gonna do. Oh, and don't forget, once you get a new bike, do get a professional bike fitting. Ditch flat pedals as soon as possible, so there is really no cycling unless you have clip-in pedals. The sooner you do this transition, the better it is. Try to focus on cadence. Now it might seem obvious, but really it isn't, but keep pedaling. Don't stop pedaling, don't freewheel, whether it is on flat or descent, keep pedaling. And while many new bikes these days come with a power meter, I don't recommend a power meter if you're new to cycling. So a cadence meter is inexpensive, it's simple, and will help you develop a sense of rhythm and pace in your rides. Try to diversify your rides as much as possible. So try to diversify things like where you're riding, the distance of your ride, the terrain, and of course the intensity of your rides. Respect recovery. Not much to say here other than if you're doing intervals, do recover at the end of the interval. If you have a super long and tough ride, take a day off or a couple of days off on the following day, depending on what your training plan is. Ride when you can with stronger riders. It's much better to become a stronger rider, to be with people who are faster than you, stronger than you. This will teach you more. You know, it might seem disappointing at the beginning when everybody's faster than you, but believe me, this will make you a much faster rider. On the other hand, do have rides where you're riding individually, so you can also measure how you're actually improving and also have time to think more about the progress you have been doing or not, as well as developing other aspects of your ride that if you're always riding with people, you cannot really do. Celebrate small victories, particularly important in light of what I just said. Don't lose motivation by comparing yourself with faster riders when you go with them, but rather look back at how slower you were when you started, all the progress you have made. This needs to be celebrated. You can only thank yourself for achieving. Depending on what your budget is, but once you start cycling a lot, it's a good idea to have an indoor trainer. The reason being, without necessarily getting the most expensive model, an indoor trainer will ensure you can ride on bad weather days. That means you can ride throughout the winter. It means if you have very limited time available because your schedule is hectic, you can squeeze some time on the saddle indoor more easily than going outdoor. It's also true that it's easier to have a more quality workout on an indoor trainer than outdoor, where you probably need more hours out there to have the same type of effect. Now, last recommendation, very important, but if you have been riding long enough, you probably will reach the point at some point where you completely lose your motivation and you think, why the hell am I doing this? Why do I need to ride? You don't see any benefit, any return in all the effort and fatigue and sacrifices you have been doing. Whenever this happens, it's crucial you remind yourself why you started cycling in the first instance. In other words, what is it that you really like in cycling and that motivated you at the very beginning to start cycling? So here we are at the end of this video. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.